It's fine. Really though, it is. I keep seeing articles and videos recommended to me which are explaining how profits have crashed and Nintendo needs to shunt the new Switch out the door now or they'll be doomed, and near all the reactions seem to be on a spectrum from weary sigh pessimism to full tilt Chicken Little. And so, while my last video hopefully provided some balance and contextualised a lot of the numbers already, and while certainly the comment section was, as ever, brimming with sensible and sane contributions, and while I do have a number of other topics I want to get to this week, I thought it was worth a bit of a reminder of where Nintendo is on its journey right now to prove that actually these numbers are still pretty incredible. They're still doing amazingly well as a company, and there really isn't some disaster afoot. And this isn't just me being some kind of Nintendo shill. I've got no personal stake, but let's just look at the numbers directly. So, first up on the screen right now, I'm showing you the profits recorded at the end of the first 3 months of the financial year for every year in the last 5. And what you'll notice is that the current gross profits are very nearly twice what they were by the end of the June 2019 quarter. And that was a year that had already enjoyed Super Mario Maker 2, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Yoshi's Crafted World, and Fitness Boxing, let alone a little title you might have heard of, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, that had just released a few months before. So what you'll notice is that in the years 2020 and 2022, the numbers are massively inflated. The first by a global pandemic, the second by the 1-2 punch of the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Obviously, yes, the numbers are down this year, but the miracle story of these numbers is that while 2023 seems to have been a one-off boost, the spike in 2020 was retained year on year. Check out that trend line. Now, since Nintendo hasn't reported the 3-month data quite as consistently over the years, it's probably easier to work out trends going further back using the 6-month data. Now, obviously, we don't know the September 2024 data yet because the month is still in progress, but this is a forecasting channel, so we can probably find a way around that. What you see on screen is the profit in billions of yen posted at each September for the previous 20 years. And with the previous 5, I've recorded the percentage of those profits that came from just the July to September quarter. So you can see in 2019, nigh on 61% of the profits in the first half of that financial year came from July 2019 to September 2019, and about 39% from April 2019 to June 2019. If you recall, the June to September window that year had not just Fire Emblem Three Houses and Astral Chain, but also the Switch Lite console launching alongside Link's Awakening, so that's no surprise it did very well. That's the highest proportion of profits for the July to September quarter. What about September 2023 though? Well, you can see that here the proportion of profits for July to September were significantly lower. And that's because, as much as I absolutely love and adore Pikmin 4, and as well as it did and as much as Nintendo of Japan were pushing it, it was never going to compete with the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Tears of the Kingdom. You can see that most years, the first and second quarters of the financial year are pretty much even Stevens. It is only really those two which buck the trend in any significant way. This year then, we're comparing a quarter with Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Endless Ocean Luminous, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, with the current quarter, which has Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, Famicom Detective Club Amy of the Smiling Man, and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. As a fan, I know which I pick on my bingo cards, and actually the Zelda title with the Special Edition Switch means I fancy the numbers will be a little stronger in this quarter than last, but hand on heart, I can't say I'm expecting there to be an awful lot in it. So if we double the first quarter's numbers, we would expect to see, for the first half of this financial year, 308.8 billion. So I'm going to put a 70% forecast of the number being, let's say, in the ballpark of 290 billion to 330 billion yen. That's around what I would expect to see when the next quarter financials come in. It could be a shade more or a shade less depending on a number of factors such as currency fluctuations or some massive new announcement that spikes sales, so my 90% certainty is that it will be between 250 billion and 360 billion. For the purposes of what I'm illustrating here, it doesn't really matter if the final number is at the top end or the bottom end of the range, because either way, their profits would be higher than any year prior to 2020, with the exception of one brief spike in 2007 and 2008. So when people are losing their heads about profits going down, well, yeah, a black swan pandemic, the high point of what will surely be their most successful console ever, the launch of their first theme park, and the first new movie project since they really committed to IP expansion, all launched in the space of the last few years. That makes the data rather noisy, and it means that Nintendo is coming down off an incredible high. But if you strip it all back and look in the full context, this is still one of the strongest years Nintendo has ever had in its history, and certainly in its recent history. In the last more than 20 years, only 2008, 2020, 2021, 2022 and 2023 are on track to be higher in the first halves of their financial year. And no, inflation isn't a factor, as Japanese inflation has been low or in some cases negative over this period, so although it does affect these numbers a little, there is no meaningful impact and you can compare them like with like. Assessing all of this, I'm in no way denying that Nintendo's numbers will be lower this year than they've been for a while. They will probably, even if they release a new console and absolutely bombard us with new games, be air quotes, low next year as well. That's because the install base of the new system will be small, the cost to advertise and manufacture will be relatively high, and there are all sorts of potential volatilities with regard to currencies. But I don't think there's going to be a single person in that Nintendo boardroom holding their heads in their hands in horror because these adjustments are already factored into their plan. Now sure, in an ideal world, if they had a new system brought to market already and it had done unfeasibly well out of the gate just like their last one, they might have made these numbers a lot better. But if they didn't have a strong games lineup, or if they botched their manufacturing arrangements so costs were high for the long term, or they couldn't guarantee fixed supply and had shortages that meant their advertising spend was effectively being wasted, building demand they couldn't then satisfy, or if they were unprepared for currency problems, or if they hadn't finished their exhaustive destructive testing process, or if they weren't in any of the other hundreds of ways Nintendo like to be completely sure they were ready to launch, they know they'd be building up problems for the future. They know because look at that chart again and check out 2011. That's 6 months after the launch of the 3DS, and it's their worst 6 months numbers on this 20 plus year chart. They know because look at the 2017 numbers when the Switch was delayed, and even 6 months in, they pretty much drawn level to the Wii's 4th year on the market. They know because actually patience is a virtue that has always worked well for them in the past. Their focus now is not on crisis managing the odd quarter here and there in the late Switch run, but it's forging a path to success for their next decade. The Switch right now is where the Wii and the DS, their most successful home exclusive and their most successful handheld exclusive consoles ever, were in 2007, which is very nearly at the height of both of their powers. I'm not advising Nintendo and they don't need my advice, but if I were, I would say ignore the noise in the share price, ignore the headlines about big drops in net profit, ignore the calls for the Switch 2 and let the brightest people in the game industry take their time. Put the case that this time next year we're still waiting for the Switch successor. I think that's unlikely. I'm pretty sure the next system will be out by next summer, but there's many a slip twixt cup and lip, so let's imagine the case that it isn't. At this rate of profit attrition, we'd only be back to probably 2019 numbers, 2018 at worst, and it's not like Nintendo are even close to running out of options to support the system. The corridors of Nintendo HQ are lined with break glass in case of emergency games. If they had to scramble today to get a Switch-only lineup for 2025 together, they could probably put together a spine of games that they already have in their pipeline. Let's say, for argument's sake, Metroid Prime 4, maybe Mario Baseball, Nintendo World Championship Super NES Edition, Pokemon Legends ZA and maybe a Dr. Mario title, and then they could flesh it out with HD ports of Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, maybe Metroid Primes 2 and 3, maybe Punch-Out from the Wii, Yoshi's Woolly World from the Wii U, and hey, if they really want to blow the blooming doors off, Super Mario Galaxy 2 and a new Super Mario Bros. Collection as the tip of the spear of an absolutely gargantuan 40th anniversary Super Mario Bros. Push, brimming with new merchandise and new sales opportunities. It wouldn't be perfect, they wouldn't sell as much perhaps as if they got their new system out in that time, but they wouldn't spend very much making any of these games either. They really, really can afford to take their time and wait. Whether they take that opportunity, well, I guess we're all just going to have to wait and see. Okay, with that, I really do want to move on from the financial stuff for now. Coming up soon, a full deep dive into Nintendo's relationship with Bandai Namco, that Nintendo Pictures video I've been working on for a while, a Zelda video that investigates one obvious question I haven't seen anyone ask yet, a temperature check on Nintendo's 2024 strategy, a deep dive into Nintendo's approach to DLC, and more. I'll be sharing some early access stuff this week and next on the Patreon if that's of interest to you, but otherwise please make sure you're subscribed, and if you want to like, subscribe, comment, share, or just click on another video, that's all very much appreciated. I will see you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.